Hello, wonderful people. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to, I believe, part 165 to my random videos and random gameplay series. Where in the last video, we got through our first little bit of the next ingenuity video. As you remember talking about in the beginning of the last video, look at all these videos. Here's something I didn't talk about in the last video, and I'm going to talk about it here. I do got another game I'm going to be doing right after I finish Spores of Sky, which is what I'm doing right now. After I finish it, I'm going to do a little special series, continuing in Spores of Sky, where I'm going to do the little special episodes if I can. I want to see what they are. I want to see if I can do the little special episodes. After I complete all of those, I will then do a different Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game. And that's one Mystery Dungeon game I'm going to be doing is Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red Rescue Team. I got installed on my system too, so yeah. Just letting you know, guys, there will be another project graph trade doing in Spores of Sky, so I don't think that's the end of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. And when I go back into my Pokemon project on the 3DS, I might do like Gateson Fang again. I might do Super Mystery Dungeon if I can actually beat it. That seems to be the one that gives me the most trouble in general. Even now I'm having trouble on Spores of Sky, but at least on Spores of Sky I can make it really far in the game before I start failing. Same thing in Red Rescue Team, except with that game it actually is kind of hard for me in the beginning, but at least I can make it somewhere. I guess I still want Super Mystery Dungeon too, but the thing about it is, once you get to a certain point in the game, it's like it becomes impossible for me. Like, once I get to that certain boss battle, then it gets hard. Then after that, it gets even harder whenever you get to deal with, who was it? Whenever you get to a certain dungeon, it does like 50 damage to you. That's way too much damage to have to deal with. Not lying. Way too much damage. But yeah, I just had to let you know about all of that. We're going to begin because it's been almost like 2 minutes now, or almost, around 2 minutes. So we're going to let Gail finish up our discussion on this little math lesson for this video. Let's go and get to it. Here we go.
So if that's the case, and you're having trouble getting your budget to work out well, then perhaps you want to consider a field where you could have a salary, maybe plus commission. Well, let's explore the commission plus salary and see how that changes in comparison to the first two that we found. So again, I'm going to clear the work. If you need to catch up on your notes, feel free to put the video on pause. Now for commission plus salary, that was different because we had to take into account the salary, and then we had a quota, which was $15,000 in sales. So anything above $15,000, commission was earned, and all that was put together to give the gross pay. So let's write that out. So we had the salary plus the commission. So the commission, though, was based on the amount of sales above the quota. So that would be then the sales minus the quota. And it will stick to the $15,000 quota for this one. So we have to multiply that amount of sales times the commission rate, and we'll stick with 7% like we used in the earlier example in this lesson, equals the total gross pay. So let's fill in the unknowns that we have here. We'll stick with the same salary, so that was $2,300. And that's each month. So the sales minus quota, that's where we're going to have an unknown. We know that the quota was $15,000, but we don't know how much was sold in this example. And that's what we'd like to find out. So I'm going to use N here to represent the total sales. But again, you choose which variable you want. So the difference between the sales and the quota would be N, or whichever variable you used, minus the $15,000 for the quota. Now, on all that money in sales above $15,000, they earn 7% commission. So that's 0.07. Now the pay, we do know that. Let's choose February. We used January in the last two examples, so we'll try February. $3,000 was earned in February. So we want to go through now and solve for the unknown. So let's go piece by piece and follow order of operations here. We're going to have to subtract the 2,300 from both sides of the equation. So we're left with the total sales minus the quota, 15,000, times 7% equals 700. So then piece by piece, getting rid of all of the numbers here surrounding and that we're trying to solve for, we're going to divide both sides by 7%. When we do that, I'm going to continue over here to the left of my work. We have, again, total sales minus the quota, and then 700 divided by 0.07 is 10,000. So in order to solve for the total sales, then we're going to have to add $15,000 to both sides. So the total sales in this case was $25,000. Now that tells us the total sales. So compare that to, for instance, street commission. As I said, in the month of March, somebody on street commission had a potential there to have no income. Whereas if you're on commission plus salary, you're for sure going to get the $2,300 in salary. And then anything you sell above that $15,000, you'll earn commission. So it's smart to think about what are your financial goals. You know, is a type of variable income right for you? If you're able to budget well and you're okay with making really good commission one month and then maybe the next month it's a little bit slower. You know, we see waves like that in real estate, for example. One month you could be selling all kinds of properties and have really good turnover, and then maybe we get to a down cycle where it's very slow. So if that type of environment is hard for you to work with, then maybe you want to consider a career that's not based on commission. Or perhaps that is the type of environment that you thrive in, working on the commission and doing more to earn more. So being able to do the math and having those skills to figure out not only if you sell this much, what is the commission, but the other way around. If this is the commission I want, then what do I need to sell? You've got the math skills now to answer both of those questions. So you did a great job today. I'm glad you're really starting to think about your careers and how your earnings are impacted by the type of variable earnings that you have. So great job today, and I'll see you again real soon.
We finished that lesson. Variable earnings. It's actually that lesson, the reason why. Almost about this was 2 hours. That lesson, it's only one lesson, but it does take forever. This was 2 hours, but most of it was literally on like 3 or 4 lessons, like the last one. We can't go over this section, and then we'll go to. And because that lesson was so long. Let's go through them.
Deductions. Any item or expense subtracted from gross income is defined as a deduction. Income taxes. Income taxes are taxes on income levied by the government for both individuals and companies. Withholding allowances. Allowances that reduce the amount of taxes levied on income for both the individual and company is commonly referred to as withholding allowances. Gross pay. Gross pay is the amount of income before taxes or expenses. Net pay. Net pay is the amount received by an employee after deductions.
And now we're gonna go watch. By the way, guys, this one's called. This one's called net pay versus gross pay, or gross pay versus net pay. It's one of them two. It's one of them two just switched around. What happens now? I'm going to number 1. Here we go. Let's start.
Welcome. I'm so glad you could join me today for our discussion on gross pay versus net pay. We've got a lot of exciting things to talk about today, but first we're going to get warmed up with our math skills. So John here works for TechStuff, and he sells computer software. So we have here the information about how much money he earns. So he gets 3% commission on the first $10,000 sold, and then after that $10,000, and he earns 4% on all of those sales over $10,000. So factoring all of that in, and we know John's total sales, which was $34,216.46. So factoring all of that together, we want to figure out how much was his commission. So let's take this piece by piece. And we'll start with the first $10,000 that John sold. So we're going to figure out 3% of that $10,000 that he had in sales. So to figure out the 3%, we need to multiply the $10,000 in sales times 3%, but 3% as a decimal. So remember, if you need to do that off to the side, don't hesitate. There's nothing wrong with that. So 3% is 3 out of a possible 100%. And 3 divided by 100 is 0.03. So it moves the decimal 2 places to the left. So when we do the multiplication, that means the commission that John earned, so the 3% on that first $10,000 is $300. Now we need to calculate the commission for all of his sales beyond $10,000. So beyond $10,000, he earned all the way up to $34,216.46. So we need to subtract the original $10,000 so we can figure out how much additional sales he had. So we're going to subtract $34,216.46 minus the first $10,000 that we already used to figure out his commission. So when we subtract that, we end up with $24,216.46. So on that amount of sales, John will earn 4%. So let's do that math and figure out for John how much commission he'll get. So $24,216.46. I'll be sure and put my $sign label in there. Times 4%. So as a decimal, that's 0.04. So 4% of his sales above $10,000 gave him $968.66. So together, if we add those two commissions together, that will give us his total commission. So adding the $300 plus the $968.66, we get $1,268.66. That's the total commission that John is earning. So it's good that we understand the math skills used in this problem, because it will really help us as we move forward in figuring out what your net pay will be. So we've got some great skills coming up in this section. We're going to talk about the difference between gross pay and net pay. What exactly are those two and how do we figure them out? And then we're going to talk about deductions that you might find when you start working, deductions taken out of your paycheck or your gross pay. And then we're also going to analyze some of these deductions taken out of your pay. How will that change your actual disposable income? So all of these and how they relate to you, that's what we're going to talk about today. So stay with me. we've got a lot of great things coming up.
Let's go ahead and do it. Hope this one is long.
So now we get Terry back to you. Brittany, if you would like to
I'll have to find out. We're going to do it. It's 12 minutes, so it ain't long. Let's go and get through it. Okay, guys.
We're ready now to actually determine the difference between the gross pay and the net pay, and use that to help us calculate deductions that would be taken from your gross pay. So let's first consider gross pay. That means the amount of money that you will earn before any deductions are taken out. Now on the screen you see examples that we commonly see as deductions from the gross pay. So two of those are Medicare and Social Security. Those are both government programs. So when a deduction is made from your gross pay, it's put into those two programs and it's used to fund government programs such as health care for senior citizens, public housing, a food stamp program. Those are just a few of the many, many programs that fall under Social Security and Medicare. So deductions are made from your gross pay to help fund those programs. In addition to that, we also have to consider federal taxes and state taxes. Now the federal taxes are determined based on your earnings and also the number of allowances that you claim. So we'll explore in today's lesson how to calculate the federal tax. Then the state tax varies depending on where you live and in what state you work. And that state tax is a percentage of what you would have to pay for the federal tax. So all of these deductions are all considered and taken away from gross pay. What's left is the net pay. So we start with the gross pay, we take away all of the deductions, and what's left is the net pay. And that's exactly what we're going to work on today, calculating what your net pay might be in a career path of your choice. So here's a breakdown more specifically for Social Security and Medicare. Depending on how much money you earn, so if you earn at or below $87,000, then you'll have to pay
Everyone that's saying I was trying to get a
6.2%
video,
of that
another video
towards
going to upload and all that
Social
time.
Security. Now, anything you earn above $87,000, then you'll have to pay 1.45% of those earnings exceeding $87,000. So 1.45% of that will go towards Social Security. Now, Medicare is the same percentage regardless of how much money or how much earnings you have for your gross pay. So it's 1.45% of your taxable income. Now, considering those two, let's actually practice calculating our Social Security and the Medicare payments. So we're going to use Eddie here as an example. Eddie knows his gross pay. So we know it's $927.88 per week. But what we're going to help Eddie do is figure out how much he would have to pay for Social Security and Medicare, and how much would be deducted from his gross pay. Well, for Social Security, remember we had different levels. We need to know, does Eddie make less than $87,000, or did his gross pay exceed $87,000? Let's calculate that now. We can take the $927.88 that he makes per week. We know that there's 52 weeks in the year. So if we multiply that amount times the 52 weeks that he'll work, we can get the total amount of money that Eddie would expect to earn for his gross pay over the course of that year. And that comes out to be $48,249.76. So Eddie is clearly below that $87,000 mark. So that means that he'll have to pay 6.2%. That was the percentage we learned in the last slide. So he'll pay 6.2% on those earnings. Now let's help him actually calculate, do the math here. Here's a formula that we can use to help us calculate Eddie's contribution to Social Security. So we'll start with the gross pay, which we know Eddie made $927.88 per week. We're going to multiply that times the Social Security rate. So because Eddie made less than $87,000, that's going to be 6.2%. But now remember, if you need to write it out to practice or to understand that percentage to decimal, don't be afraid to do that. 6.2 out of a possible 100%. When we divide by 100, that moves the decimal 2 places to the left. So it'd be 0.062 as a decimal. So when we multiply the $927.88 times the 6.2% as a decimal, we end up with $57.53. And that's how much Eddie can expect to contribute to Social Security. So that would be deducted from his gross pay. Now, what about Medicare? That's important to factor in as well. So for Eddie, we could take gross pay again, $927.88 for 1 week. And then the Medicare rate, which is fixed regardless of how much you earn, 1.45%. So as a decimal, it would be 0.0145. 1.45%. So be very careful with the decimal because one little slip of the decimal can make a big difference in our numbers. So we want to be real thorough. When we multiply $927.88 times 1.45% or 0.0145 as a decimal, we end up with $13.45. So that's how much Eddie can expect to contribute to Medicare. That will be deducted from his gross pay. So we've now figured 2 of the variables in considering deductions. So we're getting closer and closer to calculating the net pay. So you guys are doing great. We're taking some really good first steps here. But let's keep practicing with our numbers. We need to know how to calculate federal tax and state tax that we can expect to pay. So this chart that you're looking at now is set up for a single person, so an unmarried person, and across the top we see withholding allowances. So that's something that the taxpayer, or perhaps the taxpayer with the advice of their accountant, will determine how many withholding allowances that they'll claim. And that varies per person, per situation, and you'll receive help in determining what would be good withholding allowance for you to use. Now along the left-hand side, we see the wages. So we have a range here. So your wages are between, in the first row, 720 and 740. This is all based on bi-weekly earnings. Bi-weekly, just like 2 wheels on a bicycle, we use the same prefix. Bi-weekly means every 2 weeks. So a person earning, for example, $750 would fall right here in this category, between 740 and 760. And if they had 2 withholding allowances, so we'd find where do those withholding allowances and the earnings, where do they intersect? And in this case, they intersect right here at $47. So a person in that particular situation would expect to pay $47 for their federal taxes. So it's good to know how to calculate this. Now let's try it in the context of Alec here. Alec is a single person and really needs our help in determining how much he can expect to contribute to federal taxes. So he's inching his way closer and closer to determining his net pay. So let's help Alec out. He makes $830 bi-weekly, so that's great. Our chart is set up, and $830 would fall right here in that category, between 820 and 840. So we know which row to refer to. Now we need to determine the column. Alec claims 3 allowances. So we find the intersection of the 3 allowances and his earnings of $830 biweekly. So that means that Alec could expect to pay $40 for his federal taxes. That will be deducted from his gross pay. Now let's help Alec get to the next level. Now he's trying to determine the state taxes. So remember, state taxes are a percentage of what you pay for your federal taxes. So now in the last slide, we helped Alec determine that he would have to pay $40 in federal taxes. Now in the state that Alec works in, 19% of that contribution to federal taxes will then determine the amount that he'll have to pay in state taxes. So let's try this time to use a formula to help us. So the federal taxes in dollars, that we already helped Alec calculate. That was $40. I'll even put the change in there so we're real specific. So $40, and then the tax rate, the state tax rate for where Alec works, is 19%. So again, 19% is a decimal. We need to move that decimal 2 places to the left, or divide it by 100. We get 0.19. Now when we multiply that out to help Alec calculate how much that would be for the state tax in dollars, that comes out to be $7.60. So now Alec can really get a good handle on the $40 in federal taxes and the $7.60 in state taxes. Those will be deductions taken from his gross pay. So think about all that you guys have learned now. You know how to start with gross pay, calculate Social Security, calculate Medicare deduction, calculate federal taxes, calculate state taxes. That's amazing. Now what we're going to do in the next section is take all of those deductions and actually calculate the net pay. How much are you going to get to take home with you? That's what we're all interested in. So stay tuned. We're almost there. You guys are doing a great job. Here we go.
Alright, let's do the last section.
Let's put your great skills to use now and actually calculate and analyze all of these deductions that you know how to figure out. How will this impact the disposable income that you'll have? What will your net pay look like? How much can you actually take home and put in the bank, or take home that you earn for your net pay? Let's get started. We're going to use Mary to help us out here. Now, Mary has a bi-weekly gross pay, so every 2 weeks she's paid $780. Now, we're going to help Mary calculate her 4 deductions you see here on the screen: Social Security, Medicare, federal taxes, and state taxes. Let's start with Social Security. We know that Mary is not going to make more than $87,000 in a year. And we can figure that out by taking the $780 biweekly pay and multiplying that out over the course of the entire year, and that will not exceed $87,000. So we know that Mary will pay 6.2% for Social Security. So we can multiply the gross pay that Mary has, $780, times the Social Security percentage, which for Mary in this situation is 6.2%. Now as a decimal, that's 0.062. Be very careful on that. Remember, 6.2 out of a possible 100%. When you divide by 100, that moves the decimal 2 places to the left. So when we multiply $780 times 6.2%, that means Mary will pay $48.36 towards Social Security. Now that will be deducted from her gross pay. Let's help Mary figure out Medicare. So for Medicare, we'll start with the same gross pay, $780, but now the Medicare percentage is 1.45%. So be very careful on the decimal here. That would be 0.0145. We don't want to slip up on the decimal place. As you well know, that can make a big difference. So $780 times the 1.45% that we wrote as a decimal would give us $11.31. So that's for Medicare. So we've now figured out two of the deductions for Mary, Social Security and Medicare. So what we're going to do next is figure out what Mary will have to pay for federal tax and state tax. Now, if you haven't already taken notes, I would encourage you to do that right now. I'm going to clear the screen to make room for our federal and state tax work. So please, feel free, put the video on pause and catch up in the notes if you need to. Alright, let's go ahead and calculate the federal tax now. Mary has a bi-weekly gross pay of $780. Now check this out in the chart. Do you notice $780 appears twice? Well, how do we decide which category to use? The difference is in the words. We need to be real careful here. This says at least and less than. So in the very bottom category here, 780 to 800. That means that the person we're considering here, in this case Mary, earns at least $780, but less than 800. So we would choose this third category, not the second one, because that would be less than $780. And that's not what we want. Mary did definitely make $780. So we're correct in choosing the third category. Mary claimed two allowances. So we find the intersection here of her earnings, her gross pay, and her allowances, and we get $53. So we know now how much Mary can expect.
Yeah. We didn't quite get enough time, but we barely had enough time to make it to the hour mark. It's almost time to end it. We only got 40 seconds remaining. That's that time's gonna be used right now. It's time saying ending video. Guys, we made it to the hour mark finally, which is a good thing. Before I want to real quickly brief up what I said in the beginning of this video. I'm quickly saying that as soon as I get done playing Explorers of the Sky, I got plenty of Explorers of the Sky videos. I'm gonna try to do the little special episodes they give you, the little episodes they give you. I'm gonna try to do them as a little special bonus for the Let's Play. Along with that, I'm gonna also be doing Red Rescue T9 download on my Wii U system. Sorry with the videos at the end. Remember to be very much like you